Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, all the attendees. The biggest challenge every food processing industry faces today is the lack of advancement and innovation in its manufacturing practices. To bridge this upgradation gap, we at Neologic decided to present this webinar series. We will talk about cost-effective food automations, applications of top-notch machinery technologies, current trends and future directions in food processing sector, and much more. In the fourth webinar of this series, today we will be talking about new trends and technologies in yogurt processing. Few words about our today's speaker, Mr. Ravindra Mahajan. Born in middle-class family in Jalgaon, Maharashtra, he started his entrepreneurial journey and his association with dairy at early age of 13, when he started selling milk early morning before going to school. BTech in Agricultural Engineering from Mahatma Phule Krishi Vidyapit Rahuri. He completed Masters in Dairy and Food Engineering from IIT Kharagpur in 1991. With 3 decades of process engineering experience, including years in Alfa Laval and Tetra Pak, he established his dream by founding Neologic with his fellow associate, Mr. Rajendra Gore, in 2007. To provide end-to-end solution for various applications in dairy and food processing, today, Neologic has dairy, prepared foods, fruits and vegetable processing, beverage and cosmetics as their main business verticals. Professionally a hardcore technocrat, PMP certified professional having expertise in process design, process plant automation, dairy aseptic systems, project management, he has traveled more than 30 countries and almost all parts of India for his professional work. As on today, Neologic has more than 300 installations across globe and having all reputed brands like Mars International, Tasty Bite, PepsiCo, Hindustan Unilever, Dodla Dairy, Hatsun, ITC, Prabhat Dairy, Vadilal, Rich Gravis, Parle Agro, and Dabur as their customers. So ladies and gentlemen, let me present our speaker today, Mr. Ravindra Mahajan. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to all attendees here. We have received a tremendous response for this webinar, which is our 4th webinar today. So far, we have conducted webinars in different fields and more are going to happen. So today's topic is yogurt processing, and more than 400 registrations, 450 registrations are there, and several hundred participants have still joined. And let me try to give justice to your time. And I feel that you, at the end of the webinar, you should also feel that you have invested time in getting few points new into the industry. I know most of you are already well known in the industry and you are very conversant with the dairy process. So let us start with the today's topic, new trends and technology in yogurt processing. Objectives and discussions. So this is the agenda. History of yogurt production, which we will cover in brief, then basic process technology for making yogurt, then different types of yogurts, quality control and challenges in handling viscous yogurts and its shelf life. And the last one is growth potential of yogurt markets. In between, we will have some polls. Please do participate in those polls and give us a frank and open feedback. So, first point is the history of yogurt production. Yogurt is an ancient food. Of course, I am taking these references from the international literature. So it is 10,000 to 5,000 BC. How to make yogurt was known to people. The word yogurt is believed to have come from the Turkish word yogurmak, which means the thickened, coagulate or curdled milk product. And of course, in Ayurveda, you know, the milk and yogurt or curd has a lot of significance and a lot of weightage given. And we have several references in our ancient historical documents about the dahi and yogurt. Today, the FDA defines yogurt as a milk product fermented by 2 bacterial strains. What are these 2 bacterial strains? We will see in the next slide. Yogurt is a food widely consumed on a global scale since a long time ago, and this is produced by bacterial fermentation of milk. The bacteria used to make yogurt are known as yogurt cultures and defined as Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, and Streptococcus thermophilus. So these are the bacteria. These are the good bacteria. They react with milk, lactose, and produce lactic acid. So yogurt as such is quite popular in various parts of the world. And as we have taken reference of Turkey, let me tell you that in Turkey, they have a product which is very similar to buttermilk. And it is a very smooth textured buttermilk, and they consume it with every meal. Like Americans consume every now and then Pepsi and Coke, in Turkey, they consume iron. They call it as iron. That butter, they don't call it buttermilk, but they call local name as iron. So yogurt is common in their diet as well as in Indian diet. And yogurt, basic technology basically to produce yogurt is we have to first handle milk. So I have considered here the basic process technology. So the milk has come into the dairy, it is pasteurized, and then it is coming to the milk storage. And then from milk storage, it is coming for milk standardization, because in yogurt, the fat percentage is common between 3.5% to 0.5%. But the SNF is higher than the natural milk. Generally, SNF is higher than 8.5 to 9%. Different varieties of yogurt have different concentrations of SNF requirement. So we have to add the milk solids or dry matter by way of powder addition or by way of milk concentration. Both methods are common, but in India, since milk concentration by reverse osmosis, RO and ultrafiltration is not widely used, but it is gaining popularity. And I must tell you that Neologic has a sophisticated equipment for adding powder into the milk without addition of unnecessary air, as well as we have a very sophisticated systems for milk concentration by way of RO. Then milk standardized goes to milk cooling and then milk pasteurization. Yogurt milk pasteurization is done at higher temperature for protein denaturation. That's why the pasteurization temperature is 90 degrees. There is no set formula actually for the holding time, but 5-minute to 10-minute holding time gives very good result at 90-degree temperature. During the pasteurization process, we also can do deaeration as well as homogenization for the smooth and uniform texture of the yogurt. Then after the pasteurization, milk goes into the pasteurized milk storage tank at 4 degrees centigrade. And as and when required, we heat the milk through a milk heater and then we do the inoculation. So this is the basic common process for yogurt manufacture. But now here onwards, the process differ as we are going for different types of yogurts. So what are the different types of yogurts? Let me show you. Set type yogurt, stirred type yogurt, and drinking type yogurt. Drinking type yogurt is in two types. That is, one is chilled cold chain as well as aseptic. And then we have aseptic yogurt. Let us see what is set type yogurt. Set type yogurt, commonly known as dahi. This is a type of yogurt is incubated and cooled in final package and is characterized by a firm jelly-like texture, which is one of the most commonly used form of yogurt in India. In South India, the yogurt is mainly consumed not in cups but in pouches, because it is very much part of their diet as along with the rice. And the texture of the yogurt has to be firm when it is transported in the cups, and it is a challenge. Once the inoculation is done and once the yogurt is packed in the cups, immediately we have to cool down. Means we have to do the incubation, and after the incubation, we have to immediately cool down by way of blast coolers, so that further development of acidity is stopped and uniform taste and texture of the dahi or yogurt is available to the consumer. Next type is the stirred yogurt. In stirred yogurt, we actually do the incubation or fermentation in the tank. So after the pasteurization, the milk is taken into the incubation tank where we add culture, and then after the stipulated time for incubation, the yogurt is subjected to the cooling and breaking. Here the cooling is required to be done as fast as possible, generally in less than 30 minutes. We have to cool the yogurt so that we do not develop further acidity into the product, and we have to ensure a smooth texture in the stirred yogurt. And this coagulum is broken by stirring by agitator as well as passing through a pump or a shear mixer, or sometimes when you want a very smooth texture, you have to use different types of equipments. So there is a slight reformation of coagulum, so it is not very smooth as such in stirred yogurt, and sometimes stirred yogurt is also slightly viscous like a spoonable yogurt. So drinking yogurt, this is nothing but a stirred yogurt, but the coagulum is vigorously broken by vigorous action of the agitation as well as passing it through the smoothing device. Smoothing device can be a special device through a back pressure valve, or in some countries, when they want extra smooth yogurt, it is passed through the homogenizer at less pressure. Frozen yogurt. Frozen yogurt is a quite premium variety and it is gaining popularity in India. Frozen yogurt in a way differs from the other yogurt varieties because in frozen yogurt, you mix yogurt with some contents of ice cream based mixed solids. So freezing is achieved by pumping it through a freezer like ice cream freezer, and then the texture of the yogurt mainly depends on the freezer equipment that we use. There are many brands coming up in India, but it's quite common to consume frozen yogurt in Europe and USA. Flavored yogurt. Of course, flavored yogurt is some sort of a viscous yogurt which is broken into the tank, and then it is made smooth, and then we add flavors. There could be artificial flavors, fermented artificial flavors, or it can be in terms of jams or purees of the fruits, or it can be sometimes even whole fruit added to the product. But the addition of the flavor or fruit is done just before the packing. And in flavored yogurt, basically, the solids content is much higher than other forms of the yogurt because of the added sugar. And here also the sugar is not added before the fermentation, because if you add the sugar before fermentation, the coagulum will not be very uniform and smooth because of the osmotic pressure of the sugar content. Aseptic yogurt. Of course, aseptic yogurt, there are different rules and different thought processes about the aseptic yogurt, because aseptic yogurt is not generally considered as a live bacterial yogurt, because in the process of increasing the shelf life of the yogurt, you are killing all pathogenic as well as all living bacteria into the product. So aseptic yogurt is not a live bacteria yogurt, and it contains the essential nutrients like vitamins, calcium, protein, and everything, but it doesn't contain the live bacteria which are helpful for your gut health. Concentrated yogurts, of course, nowadays it is not uncommon to use the term Greek yogurt, and many premium brands are producing Greek yogurt. So it is nothing but a concentrated yogurt where the milk solids are quite high, and milk solids are increased by way of using the concentrated milk itself for fermentation, or Sometimes it is used by using the separation process like straining, traditional straining method, or passing it through some filtration process. And quark is, as you know very well, that quark is also a concentrated form of yogurt, which contains quite high solids, and it also contains high fat. And there are quark separators where you can convert yogurt into a concentrated mass. Sometimes it uses mesophilic culture and lower incubation temperatures. Means polar countries, the quark is quite common. Icelandic countries, quark consumption is quite common. In India, we use quark. Basically, we call it as chakka for making Shrikhand. So let us go to the next topic, that is quality control and challenges in handling viscous yogurts. Factors affecting the quality of yogurt are basically milk quality. We have to have very good quality of milk, fresh milk with no load of coliforms. The coliform count has to be less than 10. Very good MBRT of the pasteurized milk if you are using pasteurized milk. Then milk treatment also plays very important role in the quality of yogurt making. Standardization of milk to the required fat and SNF percentage. The additives, the quality of additives that we are adding is very important, because sometimes we add stabilizers to avoid synersis. Then it is strongly recommended that we go for deaeration in case of pasteurization, because deaeration has a lot of advantages. We will cover it into the next slide. Then homogenization has to be very effective, and heat treatment with proper holding time. And the quality of culture, what type of culture we are using, whether we are using DVS culture, whether we are using traditional culture, or whether we are using freeze-dried concentrated culture. So the types of culture plays major role in the incubation time as well as the body and texture of the final yogurt. And plant design. Since yogurt is a product very sensitive, where we are growing the desired bacterial culture inside the milk, it is also important that we should not allow to grow undesirable, unwanted bacteria. Otherwise, the final product will be something else and not yogurt. So it is very important that the plant has to be designed in a very hygienic way. There are no dead ends. The cleaning of the plant is done in a perfect way. HACCP practices are followed. The air and the overall hygiene inside the room is maintained by way of using forced air ventilation in the high cultures handling areas. All these points matter a lot. So in deaeration, actually in case of yogurt milk pasteurization, improves the stability and viscosity of the product. Too much of air makes the culture unstable or little less viscous. Improves running time conditions for the homogenizer. It reduces the risk of fouling in the pH. You get longer running hours in pasteurization process. It removes to a certain extent the odor from the milk. Sometimes milk has odors like a garlic odor and different odors. So it helps in reducing that odor, because milk is very sensitive to catch up odor from external environment. So deaeration helps in deodorization. Homogenization is of course very important, as it prevents cream separation during the shelf life of the yogurt, improves stability and consistency of the product, reduces the tendency towards synersis. Synersis is nothing but a vase separation. When we are going for a set yogurt, vase separation is totally undesirable. Even in all types of yogurts, clear vase separation is considered as a quality problem. Heat treatment improves the consistency by way of protein denaturation. The viscosity increases in heat treatment. Stability of the product increases. Shelf life increases. And here to have an effective protein denaturation and to get a very consistent body and texture of the yogurt, we have to go for a very long holding time as compared to traditional milk pasteurization process. So we use spiral holding coils so that the milk remains at 90-degree temperature for a longer time. Generally, in industry, 5 minutes to 10-minute holding is quite common. Shelf life characteristics for a longer and better quality of shelf life of yogurt. What are the basic changes that we should observe is phase separation, changes in the viscosity of the yogurt. Over the period, yogurt should not become less viscous. The structure has to be uniform. There should not be any kind of a grittiness or sandiness in the yogurt. And the color of the flavored yogurt or different types of yogurt has to be uniform throughout the shelf life. Organoleptic changes also we should see that over the period, the acidity should not increase, aroma loss should not be there, or different type of undesirable smell should not develop in the yogurt during the shelf life. And bacteriological defects, basically if the poor hygiene is maintained or if insufficient processing is done, then you will find yeast and mold growth in the yogurt, which is strictly undesirable. Another problem that comes from the improper hygiene of the plant, many times it comes from the other processing sections like cheese section, other sections where the hygiene and floor hygiene is not followed, is the problem of bacteriophage. Bacteriophage is a virus. These virus attack on the bacterial cells, and good bacteria like Streptococcus lactis and Bulgaricus bacteria, these bacteria are attacked by virus, and then the required incubation or the required body and texture of the yogurt is not developed because the bacteria has become totally ineffective. So we have to see that this viral attack can only be reduced by way of very good hygiene in the plant and very good plant design. So important factors for shelf life are milk quality, milk composition, deaeration. We have covered these points. Again, I am emphasizing on the point of equipment design. We have to see that the equipment is properly designed, the yogurt tanks are properly designed. Sometimes in some dairies, they use filtered hygienic conditions, not only into the environment of the process hall, but also sterile air blanketing is done inside the tank by way of using HEPA filters. Slightly higher pressure inside the tank is maintained over the product level. So that sterile air plays very important role to avoid external contamination. The equipments, I mean also that packaging machine has to have a very sterile atmosphere. Many packaging machines come with a completely enclosed frame where sterile air is coming in contact with the product at the time of filling. Operators' hygienic practices are very important. That operators should not contribute to the contamination. Operators should maintain hygienic conditions while adding the culture, and engineering of the plant has to be proper so that the layout of the plant should be such that different hygiene zones are maintained and they do not cross connect with each other. Like milk processing is a different hygiene requirement, incubation tanks is a different hygiene requirement, culture addition and packaging is a different hygiene requirement, and we have to maintain those hygiene zones right by doing a proper engineering and proper plant layout. Process technology, of course, is very important. We already covered additives in terms of stabilizers. We are using stabilizers basically to ensure that we have a very smooth texture of the yogurt, as well as we are using stabilizer to bind the water so that water separation doesn't happen into the yogurt. Filling machines and material. As I said, that the packaging material has to be properly sterilized before filling the product. It has to be made dust free. It has to pass through UV filtration process. and the packaging machine should maintain the hygienic atmosphere within the cabinet. And we should have, after every process, proper cleaning of the equipment and proper sterilization of the equipment before we load the tank or the piping again. So we are going to the very important topic. What is the growth potential for yogurt market? So according to reports in India Yogurt Market Outlook 2023, that report is generated for a futuristic approach up to 2023, and they have done research in 15 states of India where the yogurt consumption is highest, and that report shows in the past 6 years the consumption of yogurt has increased by 17%. Still, yogurt is consumed in an unorganized market as well as organized market. Out of organized market, retail market contributes to 90%, 95% of the market share. And since now we have a different chain of markets, a retail market to reach to the consumers, like Big Basket and many brands are there, which deliver product to your doorstep. It is becoming more and more popular to order the yogurt at home through e-commerce. In case of retail market, players like GCMF, Mother Dairy, Nestle, Parag Milk Foods, Heritage, Hudson, these are quite common, and they contribute to 50% of the market share. Increasing population, rising incomes, and improving standards of living are some of the factors, because people want the product with the same taste, with same consistency, same acidity, and it is not possible to get that product at home by doing the domestic culture addition, and the home making unorganized yogurt is something which is not desirable. So the consumers are more interested to buy branded product with the same taste and same consistency, and this they can afford. Earlier, affordability was a major issue. Looking forward, the yogurt market in India is expected to grow at cumulated growth of 21.3% up to year 2026. And this will contribute mainly to the growth of flavored and flavored yogurt as well as frozen yogurt. Then which hygienic valves are used in the yogurt industry? Basically, it depends on what type of level of automation we are looking forward to in our plant. If we are going for a fully automated plant, then of course we have to use judiciously the mix-proof valves as well as seat valves, which are 100% CIP-able. But if it is a semi-automatic or manual plant, it is better that we use valves along with the flow plates, so that we ensure that there are no dead ends, and we also ensure that the CIP and product lines are properly isolated. In my opinion, the manual plants require more knowledge and more stringent guidelines than automated plant, because in manual plants there are chances that you may have some dead ends, and those dead ends may not be covered in proper flushing of the product. So it is very important that we first decide what type of plant we want, whether automatic or manual. And what is the smoothing perfect temperature for stirred yogurt? Generally, smoothing is not done in frozen condition, but at the time of cooling, when we are passing the yogurt coagulum after breaking into the tank, the temperature is around 40-43. So the same milk is passed through the cooler as well as through smoothing device. And it's better to have a smoothing device before the cooler, so that you do not have too much of fouling or clogging of the cooler. And in terms of yogurt cooling also, let me tell you that the cooling is very important step for the design of the heat exchanger, because if we use plate heat exchangers, many times the viscosity is lost drastically. So it is better to use tubular heat exchangers or different types of heat exchangers that where the viscosity loss will not happen.
There was one question, there was one question in the beginning for Vinod Tripathi regarding Greek yogurt, saying that can you cover a little bit of Greek yogurt manufacturing?
As I have already covered that Greek yogurt is a concentrated form of yogurt, and Greek yogurt is made by slightly higher total solids of the milk, and then further after the incubation is done and the curd is formed, then it is subjected to the further concentration by way of centrifugal separation. It could be a quark separator, or it could be a simple straining method, and that's how Greek yogurt is made. So Greek yogurt is available as a plain form, also as well as flavored yogurts. Many different flavors are available, and in India it is considered as a premium product.
Yeah, there was a question from Ajinath Garande. It was more, I think, about the aseptic yogurt. So his question was, the way he writes it is the bacteria which is not harmful is used in yogurt making, and aseptic bacteria is bacteria free. Can you please elaborate more on this?
Aseptic yogurt is basically not bacteria free. What I would say is that you have to make it either as a drinking yogurt or a stirred yogurt. It could be low viscous yogurt or as a slightly higher viscous yogurt. So first we have to make yogurt, and then we have to sterilize the yogurt so that all the bacteria are killed, and that's how you get the shelf life. So the product you consume will not have live bacteria, but it is a yogurt in a way in terms of its chemical composition and taste.
So moving on to there's another question from Mohammed Saeed. He says, can you elaborate on the method to produce 100% natural set yogurt without using milk powder or stabilizers?
Without using milk powder, of course, it is possible, but then in that case, you have to go for RO method of concentration of milk so that you increase the milk solids, because for yogurt, you need more than 8.5% of SNF, and based on different varieties, as I said, that low fat yogurt is something like 2% to 0.5%, and regular yogurt is 3.5% to 2% fat. So you have to standardize in any way the milk to the desired fat and SNF level. It can be done without adding powder, but by way of separation of fat as well as by concentration of the SNF. So standardization is possible, and there are certain frozen cultures where the stabilizer requirement is very minimal, or you can try it even without stabilizer also. It is not mandatory that all yogurts will have stabilizers.
Yeah, thanks. There was one question earlier on about problems basically in yogurt or curd production, and the problem is related to the waste separation or the water separation. So what are the ways to reduce this was the question.
Basically, we have to follow the hygienic practices, and we also have to follow that the temperature of processing is optimum. Too less temperature will not denaturate the protein. The casein will not rearrange by interacting with the other casein proteins, and intermolecular interactions will not be proper. So it is very important that we follow the proper pasteurization temperature, proper holding, but too much of temperature like 100 degree and plus is also not good. So we have to follow the optimum practices. We have to follow that the fat SNF ratio is perfect, and the homogenization of milk is also done to the proper extent, so that we get we don't get the problem of waste separation. And whey separation doesn't happen only in the process, but whey separation can happen also into the handling of the yogurt. Like in set yogurt, the transportation is the main challenge. Too much of handling of the product is also the challenge. So by the time consumer gets the product, we have to handle it properly in a cold chain.
There have been a number of questions with regard to homogenization in yogurt manufacturing.
Yeah.
And the questions range from what will be the kind of pressure that is required, or somebody talks about what the NISO value of the milk during homogenization. So can we have a little bit more information in regard to homogenization during milk, yogurt milk processing?
I have already said that the requirement of homogenization during the pasteurization process is the same like milk. There is no special homogenization device or no special homogenization pressure requirement for the yogurt. But the homogenizer is used in two ways. One is at the time of pasteurization, and second is in stirred yogurt or drinking yogurt. Sometimes homogenizer is used at lower pressure for very smooth consistency of the yogurt. So that is a secondary use of homogenizer. Of course, it is quite costly equipment, and it is also consumes a lot of power. So smoothing is one usage of homogenizer. So if we are using the homogenizer for smoothing effect, then we should always go for less than 50 bar pressure. Otherwise, you will end up with very watery consistency of the yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. The next question, if I can ask here, I mean, is around the increasing the shelf life of the chilled yogurt. And in fact, another question that was related to that is, how can we expand the yogurt consumption into the rural areas? I mean, a wider geographical area. So maybe that relates again to shelf life. So maybe you can elaborate on that point.
We have to maybe generate the awareness among consumers that yogurt is also a healthy product, and yogurt many times, even it is frozen yogurt or flavored yogurt, it many times is costlier than the conventional ice cream. But people do not differentiate between a high sugar product and less sugar product, and yogurt has more calcium and more nutritious value than ice cream. I am not killing the ice cream industry here, but I want to generate awareness among the. It is important that you, as a producer, generate awareness among the consumers about the benefits, health benefits of yogurt product. We will, in a separate seminar, cover prebiotic and probiotic. But by nature, all chilled yogurts or cold chain yogurts are probiotic. So that is a very good advantage. About the shelf life of the yogurt, as I have already covered in the quality challenges, we have to see that we follow proper guidelines, we follow the proper quality standards of the milk right from the milk reception. If milk is loaded with too many bacteria, too many spores, then definitely the starter culture, not only starter culture will develop, but some other cultures develop into the product, and what result you get is not the yogurt, but something else. So, and you will have then ropey structure, you will have then watery structure of the yogurt. So it is very important we follow the hygiene, we follow the proper equipment, we follow the proper engineering. We also ensure that the equipments are properly cleaned. Then all these factors contribute to the very good shelf life of the product.
There is another question on the regard to the automation level in yogurt plants.
Yes.
Of course, that will depend on the size of the plant as well, but generally, what level of automation can we build in? Can one build in, and it will be beneficial for the production of yogurt? Was the question.
Yogurt being a live product with live bacterial culture, requires extraordinary hygiene in producing it. So it is always suggested that all the equipments and all the transfer processes are properly controlled. And controlled, I mean that it need not be 100% automation. It totally depends on the capacity. We design plants right from 5 ton per day to 100 ton per day for yogurt. For example, the Sangam Dairy project, where we did, is handling close to 350,000 liter of milk for yogurt making and different buttermilk and lassi making. So such kind of plants have to be necessarily fully automated, because the repeated operations are there, and to control the proper hygiene, to control that the product doesn't get diluted, to also control that each and every part of the equipment is properly CIP cleaned and sterilized. It is essential that we have a good automation for such plants. So I would say that level of automation actually depends on your way of counting the return on investment.
There is one more question from Nilesh asking about the what should be the precaution to take fruit yogurt manufacturing.
The basic precaution that we should take in fruit yogurt manufacturing is that the additives that we are going to add, those additives have to be totally sterile. It is better. We strongly suggest that whatever fruit puree and fruit concentrate that you use, if you can buy in sterile packs, it is very good. During the addition, try to maintain the sterile atmosphere. The flavoring agent or puree should be added just before the filling and not very much in advance. Means at the time of incubation, it should be plain yogurt. Then you add the fruit concentrate afterwards and just before packing.
I think the question again from regard to the fruit yogurt,
Yeah,
is from Megha Paranjpe, and essentially she asks what kind of food preparation should we use to extend the shelf life of the particular product. So,
as I mentioned, that it has to be concentrated fruit puree or sometimes even whole fruit is used. There are some varieties of Sunday yogurts where they initially in a packing, the first layer is given of a fruit puree with some fruit pieces or berries, and then on top of that you pour the yogurt. So these different types of varieties are available, but it is very, very important that the content of the fruit portion is sterile.
there's one interesting question from Ravindranath Banerjee, and that relates to both automation as well. I think possibly Mr. Rajendra can also join in the answer. He says, what data from the yogurt line need to be sent to IoT platform for the successful IoT integration of IoT to yogurt manufacturer?
Yeah, see the important data related with the yogurt manufacture, all the parameters, important parameters like the temperature, the incubation time, the basic quality of the ingredients or the batch numbers, the batching of all the ingredients, the quantity, what exactly is used. So all these are important information related with the yogurt manufacturing, and all this has to be properly recorded, and then it has to be reproduced in the form of reports. The cleaning CIP is also important thing that has to be recorded, and exactly this particular equipment, how it was cleaned. So all this information has to be recorded, and then of course it has to, the way forward is to keep this information on the cloud and reuse it for further investigation, and this information also will be used for the maintenance purpose, like how many hours of operation homogenizer has run. So all sophistication is happening in the industry, yogurt manufacturing, and there are different level of automations available, and Neurologic has all kind of solutions to offer.
It is very important that we have proper data to do the fault finding and analysis in case of market complaint. So IIT will help in a great way.
I think another interesting question from Pramod Tambade. He's asking about which kind of milk is more economical for making yogurt, whether it is fresh milk or reconstituted milk. Something about maybe some information we can give them here.
Basically, fresh milk. Of course, fresh milk with less bacterial load. What is mean by less bacterial load is the milk with very good MBRT, as well as the milk with very less coliform, less than 10 count, is the fresh milk I would prefer. And then just for addition of the SNF, we should use the powder or SMP. But it is not, it cannot be said as a rule that you cannot make yogurt from powdered milk. 100% powder also can be used in making yogurt. But then in that case, you may have different challenges of using stabilizers, because powder may not have required casein component or casein mycelium to bind.
This is question I'll again repeat. It was a question from Bhagas Santosa. What if we replace milk as raw material with the plant-based milks such as coconut milk or soy milk? So are there any challenges, and can we make good yogurt out of these plant-based products?
Definitely, I would consider this as an out of syllabus question, because we are considering yogurt as a product which is made by the fermentation of lactose. So lactose fermentation in milk is the main criteria for yogurt making. But if we are using soy milk and other plant-based products, then we have to totally think of a different process technology. And I cannot comment often on those kind of process technologies available for these products.
The composition of the plant-based products are totally different from that of natural milk from cow or buffalo or cattle. So definitely needs a different kind of a process technology, both in terms of process as well as the ingredients. So that's a totally different subject altogether.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining for this webinar. We look forward to your presence in next webinars, and we look forward to your suggestions. And if you can suggest more topics, you are most welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please share the information about the upcoming webinars with your friends and colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.